I'm always tying my art and story to helping people understand themselves or see how things work a little bit better. I'm constantly thinking about something I'm working on or one of my stories. My name is Michael Peckham, and I make comic books. I've been making comic books and drawing since I was a little kid, but I started taking it a lot more seriously in high school, seeking out other people who make comic books. And then once I went to college, that became my main focus for everything I was drawing and working on from there on. I guess when I was in high school and before that, I was not sure if it was possible, or I wasn't aware of how the life of being an artist really worked. So I was too afraid to commit to it fully. Right after I finished high school, I ended up reading this comic book that was about two kids who were trying to make comic books. And the theme of the whole story was all about everything I was worrying about at the time, and basically convinced me to just fully commit to trying it and doing my best at it. I was definitely really influenced by TV shows I was watching, anime when it first started coming over to America, like Dragon Ball Z. I was pretty big into Batman the Animated Series, stuff like that. So I guess TV shows, animated TV shows. And then once I got a little bit older, I started actually buying comics, going to the comic book section at Barnes & Noble or the local comic book stores. And that's just, since I drew it, was always really interesting to me to see story developed in that way, opposed to, watching it from like a Disney and like a live action Disney show or something when I was a kid. And I guess it always stuck with me. The first comic I ever read was this. It's kind of adapted from Netflix now, but it was this book called Heroes for Hire, which is basically the current the Defenders series, and I bought it at a yard sale. So I bought this comic book at a yard sale, and it was I don't know. I knew there was comic books, but actually seeing one was very interesting, and like it was cool that you could keep going through it and rereading it, and you could physically have it with you. So I think from there I was kind of hooked, and that's when I started buying the manga or Japanese comics of the series that I liked on TV. And I don't know, that was very big for me when I was a kid, to be able to like always have these little worlds with me that I could reference or look into and kind of dive into. And then I started wanting to make my own. Well, right now I have an ongoing series called Beast Hunter, which is a little bit more traditional in the way a comic book would be set up. Also, I'm working on a short story called The Individual Perception of Howard Horn, which will be 2 issues long. And the biggest project I'm probably working on right now is trying to get an illustrated magazine printed and running, which will feature comic books, but will also allow me to kind of, it'll give me different variations on how I can get across my ideas. I started to think a lot more in depth into the images actually coinciding with the story and how I can push what I was trying to say. And then I started thinking more in depth on what I was trying to say, and then it became a little bit more important to me as like thinking about myself as someone trying to, I don't know, improve people's lives in some way. Because that's how I looked at it when I was younger, watching these TV shows. I felt like I was learning a lot and feeling a lot, and that was my inspiration to do it. Basically, when I started studying writing a little bit more and realizing that I could tell my stories visually and really potentially impact people from what I was saying and doing and how they were experiencing what I try to work out everything going on in my head first. Once I have everything very tightly figured out, I go right into my book. I start storyboarding, getting it exactly, like work out exactly how it's going to fit on the pages. And then once I have a whole issue storyboarded, I go on to paper with pencil, sketch it out, ink it, bring it into Photoshop, and that's when I add the words and send it to the printers. So I guess there are a couple things that would be cool to work on, like maybe a Batman comic or something. But I think when I'm really daydreaming, I'm thinking more along the lines of how big I would be able to get one of my original ideas. So like, I do make comic books, but I see myself more so as like a visual storyteller in a lot of different ways. So I love making the comics I'm making right now, but if I was to be doing like an animated TV show or like a showrunner on something like that, that would be the same thing to me basically. When I was first starting out, I guess I would tell myself that it's possible, and if I stick with it, it's going to happen. A little bit later on, I would probably tell myself that it's okay if it takes a while and to take it easy. And just, I guess the main thing is to just keep going at it. Don't stop. Do it every day. If your main reason for creating is because you want to be popular and that's not happening right away, you're probably going to give up. But if you want to do it because you like doing it, then let that be what pushes you. Like, just keep making because you want to be good at it. If I could somehow come up with something that really influenced people as a whole and like helped people in like this grand way, but I guess in general, I'm hoping that I can help people understand how life works a little bit better, how people think a little bit better, or if just like a certain amount of people that end up picking up my books find comfort in something by reading it, then that's pretty awesome too.